Ma'am, you can start.
Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us for this session on the next big market for brand licensing. And India today stands on the foothill of doing some great things in the brand licensing market. And today we have a stellar panel here for the session on the next big market for brand licensing, where we'll actually talk about one of the biggest categories in brand licensing, which is fashion. And we have a stellar panel, which is includes Somavava Naskar who's the managing director of Hummel India, and he's doing some great work with the Danish brand Hummel in terms of helping it outgrow and outreach into various extensions and find some great synergies between fashion and sports, which he's going to talk about. We also have Roberto Brie from Marie Claire, who is going to talk about, how a media brand and largely a feminist media brand today has got into more cutting edge fashion, beauty, lifestyle side of extensions using the brand licensing tool. And finally, we'll also have Anupam, who's part of the team of Flying Machine and is looking after the Ed Hardy design for at Urban Limited. In terms of understanding what new product lines can be done today when a brand licensing comes into forte and comes into foreplay, and how retailers and brand houses can do the maximum with it. So thank you very much for joining us today. And let me start this discussion with Som today. And Som is doing some fantastic work with Hummel, which is essentially a Scandinavian brand and is into sports and represents the whole today's trend of sports dressing across the world. So welcome, Som. And my first question to you is, how did you feel that how do you see the synergy of Hummel in India? And also, how do you feel that today's brand, today partnerships within India can, particularly from performance markets perspective, stands as a big opportunity? And where do you see brand licensing coming, I mean, making a sports connection in India with Hummel at the center?
Sure. Thanks, Ritu, for the generous introduction. So I'll just quickly give this like a one-liner about Hummel. Yes, we are a Scandinavian brand, almost 97 year, more than 97 year in the business, but we largely consider ourselves as a startup. Uh, and if you look at the India business, India and Southeast Asia business, we are a true startup. We are less than probably 1 year plus, but I'm not factoring in the COVID period of any significant business. But what we realized in this period of business, and which is largely direct to consumer, that consumers love freshness. They love the simple design aesthetics about Hummel, and they love the brand value that they share. We are enjoying somewhere around 20% plus repeat purchase if I put forward all my business verticals together, and that I believe speaks volume about the consumer loyalty towards the brand. Now, with this also comes the added responsibility that when you have a large part of consumers coming back to your stores or to the e-stores or to, let's say, the other channels that we have, you'll have to offer them something new probably every second time that they come. And this is where I believe partnerships, collaborations, especially local collaborations, are a must. I was as I was discussing with you, Ritu, like when we plan to launch our kids range later this year. Uh, of course, we cannot have an approach of putting something in India which is not customized or localized for the Indian kids, and that is where I believe local collaborations, tie-ups is a must in my mind, and product fitment essentially will help us scale faster than just bringing standard product lines from our international range and force feeding that to the Indian consumers. So that is where a large part of our work is actually happening on. We are building a product lines both in apparel and footwear, which are driven by Indian styles and Indian color and Indian value sentiments. And of course, we need to have that quirky, like fashion element or stitching to have a complete package. So yes, in India, we are actually having talks with a couple of brands for a possible collaboration. Unfortunately, I have not been able to share the names because the contracts are not signed. But yes, we will be doing that. If I look at from a global point of view, we recently did a collaboration with Mirinda in China. We are actually doing a collaboration with Astrid Anderson for our sneakers and our fashion lines, and they are actually like retail in most of the iconic retail or sneaker stores in the globe. So yes, exciting times, and more exciting with all the learnings that we are coming out with this entire COVID. So how do we, as a young brand, new brand, scale up without putting up too much of capex investment? That is the big question that we're trying to solve internally. Yeah.
Uh, that's really fantastic to know. So, I mean, would the kids collection be the first in India that you would be coming out with?
No, no. We retail kids across the globe. In fact, in Scandinavia, we are the number one brand when it comes down to kids, even higher than all the peer sports brands who are giants, I would say. So, in fact, today itself is when we are actually launching our flagship kids store in Denmark. It's almost like a 3,000 square feet playground only related to kids. So there's a saying within Hummel that we take kids business very seriously. So it's not a kids play. So we offer almost like 1,000+ SKUs globally. In India, of course, we will scale it as per the demands, because we do not want to get the pricing wrong. If we, again, as I said, right, like previously, we have to be conscious about our consumers, and we cannot force feed them what works somewhere else. So that is what we are working on. We will be starting off with a limited drop and then scale it up as per the like the preference or as per the buys. The good part is we have a robust tech driven internal system that helps us optimize our merchandising very, very easily. So yeah, so looking forward to this actually.
Sure. Yeah, we're looking forward to it as well in the market. So it should be exciting times. So I'm going to actually come back to you and talk about digitization. But let me start with Anupam Biswas, who is actually from Urban Brands and today manages the Ed Hardy designs for Flying Machine and other brands. So I mean, you're a design person, Anupam, and so you understand. I mean, I would love to know is that particularly when you have a brand licensing agreement, how do you look at designs at the core of the brand? I mean, how do you ensure that you just don't stick to an image and you probably, you play with textures and you can have a more contemporary look depending upon the target age groups that you are looking out for in the merchandise. So how do you ensure that, and I mean, Ed Hardy is not something which is Indian either. So therefore, how do you make it connect with the Indian audience when such brand licensing agreements come into effect?
Yeah. So it's purely from the inceptions only. It depends when you take a license and what DNAs the brand contains, and it need to be merged. It need to be married between the brands, between the licensor and the whoever is taking the licensing. So it purely you need to foresee every part of it. Of course, each and every licensing brand has its own DNA. It has its own very target consumers. The TG is very, very strong. It had its own fan followings. It has its own goodwill. It has had its own brilliant goodwill which comes along with it, which you have to use it in a right manner, in a positive manner. And accordingly, against whatever the financial goals you have, your company or maybe whatever organizations you have to merge it along with it. So you have to see, basically, Indian market is surely not what European market is. Indian market is surely not what US market is. And same way for the rest of the markets, even the Southeast Asia market or wherever you take a Chinese market, they work very differently. The Ed Hardy out there is more luxurious brand. In India, it's more like approachable. It's still a cult, but still keeping the cult, the DNA of the brand along with it. You have to go and see whatever the possibilities and potential of the brand can be, where you can put your financial goals along with it. And it's more important whenever you licensing up a brand that you just don't take a license as a brand. You take along with its goodwill. You come with many arts along with it. It comes with a lot of authenticity. It comes along with it. It comes with a lot of extended reach. So it's you have suppose a brand along with you, and you take a licensing. You have a market, but it will give you another extended reach. So you have to see how and in the best way what you have to take the brands along.
Sure. And I mean, particularly in case of, I mean, if I'm understanding it right, as the licensee for Ed Hardy, the idea is to do merchandise which is Ed Hardy and Flying Machine, or how does it work?
No. It's totally different. So Flying Machine is purely a brand which is owned by Arvind Brands. And currently we have licensed brands with us. Out of the whole portfolio of the brands what we have, Flying Machine is own Arvind Brands. Other than that, we have US Polo, we have Ed Hardy, we have Arrow, we have Aeropostale, we have Gap, you name Tommy Hilfiger, Calvin Klein. So it's a list of lots of licensed brands what we have, and they come into different structures of merchandising in terms of different TGs and different pyramid of consumer. So it addresses to everyone. The Flying Machine is purely as one of the pillar brands of Arvind's with US Polo, Arrow, Flying Machine, and it's 100% basically subsidiaries of Arvind Fashion Limited. Recently, in fact, we have got into JV with Flipkart, where the Walmart has taken over the stake in our brand.
Right.
And basically, it's purely for the online reach. You can't just ignore the online part of the market today.
Part now, yes.
So we currently it's like it started almost in 80s, and then it's the Flying Machine. The inception started in 80s, and basically it's rolled down to a different model. Then we restarted in 2005, and from 2005 to 2010 till now 2020, we have grown multifolds. And in this whole course of time, it's not that being an Indian brand, we have collaborated with a lot of licensing, and it's always has come up with a lot of positive additional reach, what I would say. So it has always been a positive. So Ed Hardy is purely American brand and iconic cult brand with a lot of tattoo flash arts. And so that is purely what we have done in India is basically, of course, the Indian consumer is again very different. You have to segment it very, very differently. The northern customer is different from the south, and west is different from the east. So it has presence. It has beautiful presence and beautiful reach and approachability at north, predominantly at I would say the states like Punjab, Haryana, New Delhi, NCR. And when it's come to south, it becomes more mellow down. People acceptance are low. And even the categories what we do are very strong in terms of winterwear, where the sweatshirts and the jackets comes in very, very more differently. So it goes more acceptable at northern part of the state, India.
Sure. And I mean, do you think that the learnings that you are going to get as a licensee being with Ed Hardy as a brand, are you also at some point of time at Arvind looking at becoming a licensor with your own brands for Flying Machine? Or, I mean, it's a pretty iconic brand for India.
Yeah, exactly. So currently we have tied up with partners, online partners for accessories for Flying Machine, which is exclusively the watches.
Right.
And started response, what we have got is like phenomenally well. We have licensed our sunglasses. So there are categories which can come up, and of course, if you have a brand, you should always take the advantage of getting into licensing into. And it's not just because of you want to earn up the extra markups out from there. It's more basically how you get yourself as a lifestyle brand, how you will take another extra reach, how you can add up one more layer. And this layer, maybe maybe suppose you start doing watches, the customer who start liking watches maybe will end up wearing your denims and t-shirts also. So it comes other way. So always it's always better to have a one more licensing, try to license and get another layer of customer. So we are doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, what other categories for Flying Machine could you possibly envision? I mean, or are you thinking about?
Currently, see, this accessories is big. In that also the caps, watches, bags. Yeah. So watches itself, because see this, the youth market in India with the price point, average price point below, it's huge. It's humongous. And that too in online. When you come in online, then automatically the price sensitivity comes much more. People want more price sensitivity. So comparatively, they are brands. I wouldn't say that they were not brands. They are brands like Fast Track. You have brands which have the better presence. But this is purely unexplored. We can easily explore that part of it. And of course, we have done exclusive line of our footwear. So even that is also, we have got our online online partners, which we are exclusively online retailing with them. And we have got a brilliant response out of it. These shoes are purely designed in India and partially made it in India, or maybe partially sourced from imported up also. And the response is phenomenally well.
Sure. And you think the price points are something that the customer relates to?
India market is purely dominated with the price point, at least with the brands what we handling up. If you take the pyramid of from the mass to the premium to the luxury to the premium to luxury and then super luxuries, I wouldn't say that, of course, above part of it doesn't hits on too much on the pricing, but even a brand like USP or even Ed Hardy, purely price driven. After a point, the price plays a major role. But I wouldn't, even we have from the past 15 years since we have been working on the licensing and the brands, I've never said that, I've never find that it's impossible to, it's the price is not a hindrance. It's value is which is more important. It's not that you have to sell it cheap. It's more important that you give that value and customer understands it. What I mean to say that if you can give it a value at 10,000 also, customer will understand. He will not mind not to pay for it. So as long as your brand has a good goodwill, you have a good value to it, and the product has a good value and quality to it, it works out brilliantly.
Sure. Okay, so I'm going to come back and ask you a few more questions, but let me first come to Roberto. So Roberto has joined us here from Europe, and today as he leads the Marie Claire brand in India and a lot of other markets. So Roberto, Marie Claire is largely a very women media. You know, it represents feminism, it represents beauty, lifestyle, fashion, everything which is related to women. So I mean, for Marie Claire, how do you see these categories? And, you know, for Marie Claire, how in fact, you know, you've sort of gone into so many streams. You're there in India in the beauty segment, you're in the fashion segment, and lots of even the optical segment. So what opportunities within Marie Claire brand, I mean, you perceived initially that could work very well in India? And then how was it that you came down to partnerships and price points that, as you know, Anupam also said that India is a very price sensitive market. And the minute you understand that, you have a very large customer base here in India. So how did the whole collection started happening and licensing deals started happening for Marie Claire?
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. And well, of course, as you said, Marie Claire is very much committed to women. Is a publisher at the beginning since over 50 years. So very much committed to women, very much listening to women. So this is the core from the first beginning, from the founder, let's say. As you know, Marie Claire is still an 100% family-run business. So the DNA from the founder is still the core when we come up with journalism, and then when we expand worldwide through product. And of course, Marie Claire addresses currently 80 million women across 27 countries, 15 languages roughly, so very much committed to it. When it comes to India, we opened fashion apparel about 5 years ago. So we're still a new brand in this territory. And the idea was from the first beginning to expand fashion, beauty, and home, which are the three pillars coming from the journalistic point of view. So we started with apparel. We started with a ready-to-wear collection. We are still 100% online. So we have no retail shops and no physical distribution. We just work through two exclusive partners online, and we are now renewing this agreement for the next 5 years. Basically, our idea is to remain 100% online for this category of product, and of course to expand more in what we might talk later about, temporary or experienced shops. So, this kind of approach, which now are very much effective to study new consumer behavior, which is a specific part of this job when you want to expand a brand in a new territory. So still, apparel is one small category of fashion group. And of course, we are now more experienced, and we are now ready to create more specific cluster of clientship in terms of not only geographically speaking. Of course, what our partner said before, India is a fantastic geographic experience first, but of course then it has to deal with ages, with needs. We don't really deal with students, for instance. We are very much successful somehow in the Far East with the teenagers. We are still not focusing teenagers in India, so there are a lot to be done still. The product actually is made in India, distributed in India. Talking about the Indian license, we might come across with other opportunities because we have other partners worldwide and specifically on Asian markets. We might coordinate to develop further and to target more in detail some categories of product. For instance, I would say activewear, jersey lines, all these categories that are very successful somewhere might be successful also for Marie Claire in India shortly. So this is where we are in fashion. And of course, we are now in beauty with two directions. One is specifically product and one is specifically services. Product, once again, is an online distribution with a specific agreement at the first level of makeup and then expanding in personal care. For the moment, we will launch 12 new products hopefully within the end of the year. And this will be a fantastic taste because Marie Claire has a beauty, let's say, Marie Claire represents and sounds like a beauty brand. If you make a survey worldwide, first of all, what Marie Claire stands for is beauty, then is fashion, and then is home. So it's incredible. But how strong is the link with the brand and the beauty? So it will be a fantastic project. And of course, we started already 2 years before with the beauty salon, and this is a fantastic experience because this is a service. This is by definition offline. This is real estate. This is committing with the teams and clients, and this is a fantastic experience to understand much more what beauty product might be. So we are in both directions, of course, limiting the expansion this last 6 months, unfortunately, but beauty salon is expanding pretty much, and the result is really good. The feedback is really important for us to read even more what are the expectations. So now we really need to combine this new aspect of launching product, starting with makeup, and then to combine them together. And the third category will be home, and we have already 2 partners on board for home product, as well as for a project of boutique hotel, which will be combined together in order to create the world of. Unfortunately, I must say 1 year delayed. This was a 2021 project, but I believe for product might be 21, 22. For hospitality will be 22, 23. So basically, this is where we are now.
Sure. And I mean, since you mentioned beauty salon over here, do you think, I mean, from a licensor's perspective, how do you look at services as a category? This was a pure service category, while, you know, obviously the other categories look to be more product categories. Fashion is a product category, merchandise category, but this is a service category. So how different as a licensor you think of both these categories in different buckets, and, you know, what outcomes do you perceive when you think of categories which are totally different?
It is definitely is a great question, because let me tell you, India is the first experience in services. And the idea came from our current partner, insisting of launching services branded Marie Claire Paris. And once again, the status of being a beauty iconic brand helped a lot, but still we were brand new in this market, so it was really tough. As I told you, we have opened the first 10 beauty salons, and the results are really, really interesting, but not only because of the successful experience in terms of a return, but also because we learn a lot, and we understand in a country so different and so dense, we understand a lot what beauty means. Second of all, through beauty salon, we touch men as well, which is not our category of, we are not committed with men as we are with women. And as you know, Marie Claire is a feminine magazine.
Yes.
So it's very interesting to approach men. It's very interesting to approach men through beauty, once again, because it's a fantastic category to explore. So it's an experience beyond the business, I would say, with a great potential for the future. And on the top of it, of course, there is a project of academies. Marie Claire as a group invested in a French laboratory here in Paris, and invested in academies, in French academies. So now we are running some experience, and we want to share this experience. Our partner is also very much interested in running academies and to train, not to train people just to drive and to lead people inside the Marie Claire group, but just to train people in this fantastic category, which is beauty. So this is something also that will be a a fantastic experience to learn even more, and student category will help a lot for us to enter this category of clientship. So what will be done in the next few years will be fantastic compared to what has been done up to now, which is, I would say, more a classic approach. What has been done up to now is more a classic approach to approach a new market through typical categories of product. What we have in mind, and according to the fact that I would love to complete this project with more commitment, Ritu, what I have in mind in terms of committing with local societies, local territories, and bringing more brand value, and this would be the experience, and this would be what the licensor should bring for the future.
Sure, absolutely. I completely agree. So it's not just about doing business, but also the commitment one shows to the society and the upliftment of the country in which you're working. One, even in a small way, it goes very far for the country as well as for the brand together. So, one question I have for all of you is that today with pandemic, so deeply upon us, how has digitization been your forte for everybody? I mean, for licensing, from what I have been reading, it sort of brings you much closer to your customer because already the brand is very big. The brand recall for the customer is very big. And once they see it online, they get much more attracted. We've already seen this, particularly for sports. We've already seen it for fashion brands, that, the customer now feels or more engaged with the brand when he sees the collection in the online or the digital space. So, I mean, I would love to ask all of you that how has digital sort of given a push to your licensing merchandise in these times, and also going forward, what is going to be the digital strategy for the brand? Let's start with you, Anupam.
Yeah, so the most important part is it's analytics. The digital comes with a lot of analytics, and in today's world, when we sit and design, it's parallelly we have dashboard which comes along with us and which gives us a purely reflection what is selling in all the online portals, and to the detail that to which sleeve, to which color, to which button. So it comes with a lot of analytics. What you need to do is a data mining out of it, makes your best call out of it, refine those data and use it as per the DNAs of the brand. And so basically it's in today's world, it's almost I would say that it's impossible to stay away with the digitalization. Not just because to reach, it's about what you said, it's the customer connect. This is where I would say that it's not just the online presence. I would say that Instagram is the brilliant way to know what your consumer is. It just doesn't tell you basically what how much is the depth of the consumer width is, but it gives you the psychological characters of the customers, which is the most important part to understand and to design accordingly for your collections. Unless until you don't know what kind of thought process he's going through, that's exactly what gives you the digitalization. So even our dashboards, when we have our customized dashboards, we have even our page Instagram, which keeps on coming up and which refines up and showing up all to the designers that this is what the customer is looking at, what he wants, these are the comments, these are the thought process, what he's giving it. So, and other than that, the best part of it, it's a quick runs. If any of the digital portals or online partners, they have phenomenally brilliant data, what they have. And for them, it's easy. In fact, very recently, there was a study came, although right now there's no airport look going on, but still the joggers and airport sets are selling the most. So surprisingly, I don't know, people are wearing at home or they want to keep it because they're at home, working at home. So there was a need, and we have very flexible manufacturing in our supply chain, and we did it. And somehow it's already in the process of getting delivered. So it's the connect is very fast. So what I would say that without digitalization, you can't see it. To understanding your customer, to understand the psyche of the customer, and you have to be in both the parts. You need to learn how to do the data mining, the analytics of it, and of course to evolve how to characterize your customers.
Sure. And I mean, do you, as a licensee now see, and particularly now you since you wear at Arvind, you wear the hat of both a licensee as well as a licensor for some categories. Do you think with digitization, it has given more power to the licensee to be able to reach the the market faster, to reach the customer faster? And, I mean, going forward, what do you think for a brand, a digital strategy is going to be?
So yeah, exactly. So basically, the reach becomes much more bigger. It's become faster, but the way you're saying, suppose in the year end, there are lot many movies are coming. The moving licensing is big. Whether it's Top Gun, whether it's 83 or any of the movies, there's a big movies coming up. You can always take up a part of that, and all of them will have a different. Maybe the Top Gun will come with the jacket range. It'll add on one more layer to it. 83 will come with maybe just athleisure and sports, or maybe retro sport of kind of a clothing, or casual, retro casual clothing. So it totally adds on to your whatever part you want to do it. Whether let's say suppose Fortnite or Minecraft, that will give you another layer to your customer base where you're starting at it. So these are all the teens, and you always want them because these are the people who will in next 5 years, 6 years, they will fall into your brand. So again, so you have to take it in the short term. Of course, it gives you a lot of freshness. It gives you a lot of wowness. It gives you a lot of connect. It gives you a lot of up to date. But in the long run, also, you can always plan it up. If you keep on doing these kind of connect, these kind of licensing collab, it will always layer up another customer line for you in future. Because predominantly, let's say about Fortnite or Minecraft, these are like purely used by the teens, and the amount of time they spend is like crazily. It's not even what we do in WhatsApp and Instagram. It's together, even the average time what they spend is far much more than that. So it's a big market, and you should tap them up first. And it's always important that it gives you much more better that how the consumer will be behaving. If this teen is behaving like this in next 5 years, how it's going to be. Yeah.
Sure. No, totally agree with you. So, I mean, let me ask you this, and I think Anupam just touched upon, these gaming platforms like Fortnite and Minecraft and Roblox. So, I was talking to a Japanese investor yesterday, the AET fund, which actually sort of invests in a lot of these animation properties. And he made a very good point that today, particularly, he said in Japan, people are far less going to Facebook and Instagram and far more engaged and spend a lot more time on Fortnite. In fact, it's almost becomes like the WhatsApp and WeChat of Japan for them. And I mean, so given the fact that, today, while when we think of digital, probably the first 2 or 3 places that come to us is Instagram or Facebook. But do you see for Hummel it becoming much bigger? Even platforms like gaming platforms or sports, Desire Sports platform, they becoming a bigger digital push for you for the product?
Glad that you asked me this. We just signed up a 3-year deal with Astralis Group. That's one of the biggest gaming platform, that operates in the world. And I'm not a user of this group, but I'm pretty sure they play all the games that the teenagers or the game mavericks they love to play. So yes, I'm saying we are now starting to interact with a whole new set of generation. Who just doesn't want to buy into something if it's not if it's not, how do I say, sustainable. So when I say sustainable, like there are 2 types of consumers that we have seen. One who looks at product sustainability, the product needs to have certain sustainable characteristics and all, especially our yoga lines and all. Our women consumers, they are extremely proud to pick up the sustainable wears or the clothes made from ethical sourcing and all. So we realize there is that one a big consumer base which will eventually take over this entire how do I say, the current consumer base which we feel. So the second is this new age consumer base who are a whole new different how do I say, two different breed. We simply cannot comprehend their thoughts. I'd still say what we are trying to do is a classical approach that, okay, they are in these platforms, so let us be in these platforms, let us collaborate. But I sincerely believe in the next couple of years, we'll actually start understanding what they seek, because they are looking for, product lines, they are looking for thought processes which are extremely, how do I say, iconic. So when recently all the, let's say, the right noises that were being made around Black Lives Matter and all, and our young consumers, they started demanding, like action from us, which we, of course, as a socially, like conscious brand, we would have anyways done. But this is the tone that they have, like, because they believe they're a part of the brand. They own this brand. They are the like rightful shareholders. So this sentiment, like if we are not true to the sentiment, then I believe there would be a big, like misfit in coming in the years. We just cannot say that, okay, like you like esports, so we are partnering with, and that's the end of the commitment. No, we have to get into that, like whole, that why do they communicate via these platforms, and why they do not communicate via an Instagram or a WhatsApp or a WeChat. We have to understand that. We have to understand that they have a very different social behavior when they're on that particular group, and when you approach them over there, it just cannot be simply like, okay, you can buy this T-shirt with this logo. They want something more. So I can safely say that we are on the direction, but it will take us some bit of time. So to understand how this licensing, like portfolio will help us. And I think, like Roberto said something beautiful, like think of, like iconic brand which has been focusing on women, now identifying a whole new consumer base of men through beauty, which in a traditional setup we can't even imagine, right? So we have to open our minds, and that is where I think the game will change in the next couple of days. That, yeah, digital is, and I think Anupam touched it beautifully. Digital is not just selling online, like it's a whole ecosystem that you have to build, and we are working towards it. We are trying to get to the data as real time as possible, but I'll still say it's like we don't know exactly how the future is going to play out. We are trying to build up the tools, and we're going to analyze over the next couple of years, and then probably prepare our roadmap. So yeah.
Sure. No, I think you put it very well that, you have to actually understand the behavior of the customer,
Yeah.
and therefore be able to talk to him or her in the same language, which is very important today. So no matter what the platform it needs to sort of, the pushing the product alone is not going to make only sense over here. So yeah, we're completely looking forward to that side of digital, and I think we're just beginning to start on that side. So Roberto, I mean, particularly for the product side that you have, how do you play it out on digital? I mean, even for that matter, the service side, do you think people sort of book their services for the salon online and actually go out and take services in the salon? I mean, and of course, right now it's so hard to predict, but do you see that becoming the future?
Yes, I can see that from the first beginning. Of course, still we are at the beginning, and we have the typical Instagram account for each category of product, for each beauty salon. But still, there is a lot to be done. But of course, the reaction is typical. I mean, whenever you have an Instagram account, clients love to post. Clients love to be liked, I mean, this is typical from the first beginning. What I want to emphasize is that when I talk about Marie Claire, I always say Marie Claire is a voice somehow. No? It comes from journalism, from feminism, is a voice. So what I have in mind is more how to bring this voice through the digital. Of course, what has been said is exactly where we are, because we work with data analysis, which are fantastic and so important for us to create product, to adjust product, and to react fast. This is certainly true. The way I said, we are basically 100% online for product, and of course we have partners with a great data elaboration. Fantastic. The point is that I need to come up with my own message, with my own voice, as I said, and so I need to build my own digital scenario, which means that for the moment Marie Claire in India is not considered as a voice is not perceived, of course. So there is a lot to be done, but more as a digital approach than talking about, as historically was the case, magazines, among other things. So it's more a digital approach to become a consistent voice, according to the fact that we will be in the market with beauty content, with fashion content, with lifestyle content.
Sure. No, absolutely. I agree with you. So I've been actually being tipped on the time. So I have one final question from
Sure.
all of you, which, let me touch upon the revenue side of things. And, I mean, from a returns perspective, how do you think licensing is going to be game changing for the licensor as well as the licensee in the coming times? And I mean, what is it that both will have to change in order to be able to make this deal profitable and make it more worthwhile for both the parties? So let me start with Anupam. Anupam, very quickly, we have just about 5 minutes for the question. For the
Yeah.
panel.
So what I would suggest is basically both the parties should look into the long-term part of it. As the economies like India, which is the brilliant growth is trapped, and we have a huge long way to go, and still the licensing is still very unexplored, I would say. And the market out here is youth, and it's big, and the consumer is growing up each and every category. And what is happening right now, let's minus that up. I again say that basically the buying in and the consumerism is not going to stop. So the consumer story is still, it's on, and we should look for a much more bigger and much more viable, and give it a time to it. And that's what is more important.
Sure. Roberto?
Yeah, briefly, I believe the key is the licensee. First of all, the business model must be very well, very much successful for the licensee. First of all, so whenever I meet with investors, I always insist on this point. So first of all, licensee must really capitalize on this investment first. Second of all, licensor and licensee, the way I see things, will be more and more partner, also financially speaking.
Okay, that's great. So,
Yeah, so I think rightly touched upon. I'll if I have to just sum it in a very, non-political way, we have to join hands as partners. So we cannot expect to move in that there will be an upfront huge minimum guarantee. Like it has to be more that you make money, I make money. Like that kind of thing. The second is one of the biggest challenges I believe in this particular industry is data, right? That how much one is actually selling and how much is actually making. So how that is something that I believe as an industry we have to all come forward on a particular table and put forward some best practices, so that this, once we know that this is the data, this is what this is actually selling, and this much is my share and this much is your share, I think all the problems would get solved. So trust is the biggest challenge in this particular data point in India as of now.
or no, I think well said. I think that is certainly required when you're entering into such business relationships.
Yeah.
So very quickly, we've just received one question from our audience where Mr. Sharif is asking how do you look at licensing in collaboration with influencers and celebrities? So, anybody, Som, you want to take it up?
Yes, actually, we have been actually brainstorming on this. And see, the whole idea is that we were thinking that our consumers have evolved, like the traditional, yes, may not be a huge segment as it's touched upon by the Marvels or the DCs, but let's say even a popular influencer or a popular music band will have its own cult audience. And can we actually, capitalize on that from a brand perspective, and also from a, like an extension perspective that, yeah, it fits into our product and mind share. So yes, we are exploring that.
Sure. Well, I think this was a wonderful panel. Some great points that all of you have made, and particularly Som, I love the tattoo on your arm. So humble. It's like taking the brand right there on your skin. And thank you very much, Anupam. Thank you, Roberto, for sharing this wonderful insights. And I think,
Thank you.
given what you have shared, the retail industry, the licensing industry, and the licensees themselves are going to be far more richer just getting these ideas and therefore being able to enact upon it and empower themselves with it. So thank you very much for joining us here for this talk today. And hopefully next time we meet without the screen and in person.
Hopefully soon.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.